The December wind cut through Chicago's South Side like a knife, carrying with it the promise of snow and the memory of better days. Marcus Hayes pulled his work jacket tighter as he walked down Ashland Avenue, his 7-year-old son Elijah's mittened hand warm in his calloused palm. "Daddy, my feet are cold," Elijah said, his breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. "I know, little man. Just 2 more blocks to the bus stop, then we'll be on our way to get those new boots." Marcus glanced down at his son's worn sneakers, the ones with the hole forming near the big toe. They'd held on through November, but December wasn't having it. The Christmas bonus from the warehouse couldn't come soon enough. Elijah was small for 7, with his mother's deep brown eyes and Marcus's determined chin. He walked with a slight limp, a reminder of the car accident 3 years ago that had taken his mother and left Elijah with a pin in his hip and nightmares that still woke them both some nights. They were almost at the bus stop when Elijah stopped walking entirely. "Daddy," he whispered, tugging on Marcus's hand. "Daddy, look." Marcus followed his son's gaze to the covered bus shelter ahead. What he saw made his chest tighten with that particular kind of Chicago heartbreak you never quite got used to, no matter how many times you witnessed it. A young black woman sat hunched on the bench, her body curled into itself against the cold. She couldn't have been more than 25. Her natural hair was pulled back in a ponytail that had seen better days, and she wore a thin denim jacket that was nowhere near warm enough for December. But what stopped Marcus in his tracks was what she was holding. Pressed against her chest, wrapped in what looked like a baby blanket that had once been yellow but was now mostly gray, was an infant, maybe 3 or 4 months old. The baby wasn't crying. That was what scared Marcus most. Babies that cold should be crying. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. "Daddy," Elijah said again, his voice small and worried. "Is she okay? Is the baby okay?" Marcus felt the weight of his son's question settle on his shoulders alongside all the other weights he carried. The past 3 years had taught him hard lessons about minding your own business, about protecting what little you had, about not taking on problems that weren't yours to solve. But then Elijah pulled his hand free and took 3 steps toward the woman. "Elijah, wait," Marcus started. His son looked back at him with those eyes that had seen his mother die, that still sometimes asked why Mommy wasn't coming home, that trusted Marcus to make the world make sense even when it didn't. "We have to help them, Daddy," Elijah said simply. "They're cold, like we're cold, but they don't have a home to go to." Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. He thought about 3 years ago, when the drunk driver had crossed the center line on I-94. He thought about sitting in that hospital waiting room, 29 years old with a 4-year-old son whose hip was shattered, being told his wife of 6 years hadn't made it. He thought about the next morning when his mother had shown up at 6 a.m. with groceries and paid his rent for 2 months, because she understood, that sometimes you just needed someone to step in. "All right," Marcus heard himself say, "but stay behind me, okay? Let me talk to her first." They approached slowly. Marcus could see the woman more clearly now. Young, definitely younger than he'd first thought. Maybe 22, 23. Her brown skin had that ashy look that came from too many nights outside. Her lips were chapped and cracked. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. But it was her arms that got him. Even unconscious or sleeping or whatever state she was in, her arms were locked around that baby like steel bands. Protecting, always protecting. "Miss," Marcus said gently, keeping his distance. "Miss, you okay?" No response. "Miss, it's supposed to drop to 15 degrees tonight. You can't stay out here." Nothing. Marcus glanced at Elijah, who was staring at the baby with worry etched across his young face. He took a step closer and gently touched the woman's shoulder. She jolted awake with a gasp, her arms tightening around the infant. Her eyes flew open, wild and frightened, darting between Marcus and Elijah like a cornered animal looking for escape routes. "It's okay," Marcus said quickly, raising his hands. "We're not trying to hurt you. My son was worried about you and the baby." The woman's breathing was rapid, panicked. She looked at Elijah, then back at Marcus, trying to assess the threat level. "Please," she said, her voice hoarse like she hadn't used it in days. "Please, just leave us alone." "Ma'am, that baby—" "He's fine," she cut him off, but even as she said it, the infant let out a weak, wheezing cough. Then another. Marcus had heard that cough before. 3 winters ago when Elijah had gotten pneumonia. That sound of lungs struggling against cold and wet and not enough oxygen. "He's not fine," Marcus said, his voice firm but not unkind. "That's a respiratory thing. He needs to be warm, and he needs it now." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "I know," she whispered. "I know, okay? You think I don't know? But what am I supposed to do? The shelter's full. They've been full for 3 days. And even if they weren't, they separate mothers from babies after 6 p.m. I won't." Her voice broke. The baby coughed again, weaker this time. Elijah moved before Marcus could stop him. He walked right up to the woman and began unwrapping the scarf from around his own neck. It was red and blue stripes, hand-knitted by his grandmother last Christmas. His favorite scarf. "Here," Elijah said, holding it out. "For the baby. It's really warm. My grandma made it with special love stitches. That's what she calls them." The woman stared at this small boy offering his scarf, and something in her face shattered. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "I can't take your scarf," she managed. "The baby needs it more than me," Elijah said with the simple logic of children. "Right, Daddy?" Marcus felt his throat tighten. He looked at this young woman, really looked at her, saw the exhaustion carved into every line of her face, saw the determination in how she held that baby, saw someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone who'd had a life before whatever circumstances had put her on this bench. He thought about Anaya, his late wife, and what she would have done. He already knew. Anaya wouldn't have even hesitated. "What's your name?" Marcus asked, his decision made. The woman looked at him warily. "Why?" "Because I'm Marcus, and this is Elijah, and we're about to take you and your baby somewhere warm. But I'd like to know what to call you." "Destiny," she whispered. "My name is Destiny, and this is—" She looked down at the infant. "This is Noah." "Okay, Destiny, here's what's going to happen. There's a community center 3 blocks from here. My mama works there part-time. They've got a room with a space heater and a couch. We're going to get you there, get Noah warm, and figure out next steps. You okay with that?" Destiny stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. "Why would you help us?" Marcus thought about how to answer that. He could talk about Anaya, about loss, about understanding what it meant to need help and not be able to ask for it. But Elijah beat him to it. "Because that's what you do when somebody needs help," Elijah said, matter-of-factly wrapping his scarf around Noah's tiny body. "Right, Daddy? That's what Mommy used to say." "Yeah, little man," Marcus said, his voice rough. "That's exactly what Mommy used to say." Destiny looked at them both, something like hope flickering in her exhausted eyes. "I don't have any money. I can't pay you back." "Didn't ask you to," Marcus said. He held out his hand. "Can you stand?" Destiny tried. Her legs shook, and Marcus realized she probably hadn't eaten in days. He caught her elbow as she swayed. "Okay, change of plans. Elijah, you think you can hold Noah real careful while I help Miss Destiny walk?" Elijah's eyes went wide. "Really? I can hold the baby? Real careful now. Support his head like I showed you when Cousin Tamika's baby was born." Marcus carefully transferred the infant from Destiny's arms to Elijah's. The boy's face was so serious, so focused as he cradled Noah against his chest. "I got him, Daddy," Elijah said solemnly. "I know you do, son." Marcus put his arm around Destiny's waist, taking most of her weight. She stiffened at first, then relaxed slightly as her legs proved they weren't going to hold her on their own. "I've got you," Marcus said quietly. 3 blocks. We can do 3 blocks." They made it 1 block before Destiny's legs gave out completely. Marcus caught her, and for a moment they stood there on the sidewalk, the strange constellation of need and help and human kindness that Chicago kept trying to freeze out of people but never quite managed. "I'm sorry," Destiny whispered. "I'm so sorry. I'm so tired." "Nothing to be sorry for," Marcus said. He looked around, assessing options. The community center was still 2 blocks away. Destiny wasn't going to make it. "New plan," he announced. "My place is closer, 6 houses down. We get you inside, get you warm, then we figure everything else out." Destiny's head snapped up. "Your place? No, I can't. That's too much." "Miss Destiny," Elijah piped up, still carefully holding Noah. "Our house is real warm, and we have chicken nuggets, the good kind from Costco." Despite everything, Destiny let out a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. "Chicken nuggets," she repeated. "Best ones in Chicago," Elijah confirmed seriously. Marcus made the decision. He scooped Destiny up, 1 arm under her knees, 1 behind her back. She was so light it scared him. Too light? She made a sound of protest, but he was already moving. "Elijah, you stay right next to me. Keep Noah covered with that scarf." "Yes, sir." They made it to Marcus's house in 4 minutes flat. It was a small 2-bedroom bungalow that his grandfather had bought in 1967, passed to his father, then to him. It needed a new roof, and the porch sagged a bit, but it was warm, and it was theirs. Marcus kicked open the door and carried Destiny straight to the couch. Elijah followed, still carrying Noah like he was made of spun glass. "Okay, first things first," Marcus said, his mind shifting into the emergency mode he'd learned in the Army before Elijah was born. "Elijah, go get the space heater from my room. Miss Destiny, you're going to drink some water, then we're getting food in you. And Noah needs—" He stopped, looking at the infant properly for the first time in good light. The baby's lips had a slight blue tinge. His breathing was shallow and wheezy. "How long has he been like this?" Marcus asked, unable to keep the concern from his voice. "Since yesterday morning," Destiny admitted, her own fear plain on her face. "It started with just a little cough, but it kept getting worse. I tried to keep him warm. I tried—" Hey, no blame here," Marcus interrupted gently. "But he needs to see a doctor. That's not a maybe, that's a definite." "I don't have insurance," Destiny said. "I don't have ID. I don't have—" "The urgent care on 51st, they don't turn away babies. We're going to take him there." "I can't afford—" "I said we're going to take him there. I didn't say anything about you paying. My shift at the warehouse doesn't start until tomorrow. I've got time today. We've got time." Destiny stared at him like he'd grown a second head. "Why are you doing this? You don't know us. We could be. I could be—" "You're a mama trying to keep her baby alive," Marcus said simply. "That's all I need to know." Elijah returned with the space heater, plugging it in and positioning it near the couch. "Is baby Noah going to be okay, Daddy?" "Yeah, little man. We're going to make sure he's okay." Marcus disappeared into the kitchen, returning with a glass of water and a banana. "Eat this. Slow. Your stomach probably can't handle much right now, but you need something." Destiny took the banana with shaking hands. After 3 bites, she started crying. "I'm sorry," she gasped. "I'm sorry, I don't mean to. It's been 4 days since I ate anything real, and—" "Then you take your time with that banana," Marcus said gently. "No rush. We've got more where that came from." While Destiny ate, Marcus took Noah carefully from Elijah's arms. The baby was warmer now, thanks to the scarf and the house heat, but that cough worried him. He'd seen enough sick kids in the neighborhood to know this needed medical attention. "Okay, here's the plan," Marcus announced. "Destiny, you're going to stay here with Elijah. There's a bathroom down the hall. Feel free to shower, change clothes, whatever you need. Elijah will show you where everything is. I'm going to take Noah to the urgent care." "No," Destiny said immediately, trying to stand. "No, I'm going with him. I can't. He's my baby. I have to." She swayed dangerously. Marcus put a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Mama, listen to me. You can barely stand. You're running on empty. Noah needs medical care, yes, but he also needs his mama to be functional. You're no good to him if you collapse. Let me take him to get checked out. You stay here, get cleaned up, eat something real, rest for 30 minutes. Then Elijah and I will come back and get you, and you can meet us at the urgent care. Deal?" Destiny looked torn, every instinct screaming not to let her baby out of her sight. "I promise you," Marcus said, his voice steady and sure. "I give you my word, on my own son standing right here, that I will take care of Noah like he's my own. Nothing will happen to him. You have to trust me." "Why should I trust you?" Destiny whispered, but the fight was draining out of her. Exhaustion was winning. Marcus thought about how to answer that. He pulled out his phone and handed it to her. "This is my phone. My whole life is on here. Call anyone in my contacts. Call my mama. She's under Mom Sharon. Call my brother. He's under Trevor. Hell, call my boss at the warehouse. Ask them about Marcus Hayes. Ask them if I'm the kind of man who'd hurt a baby." Destiny looked at the phone, then at Marcus, then at Elijah, who was watching this whole exchange with worried eyes. "My daddy is a good daddy," Elijah said quietly. "He takes real good care of me. He'll take good care of Noah, too." Something in Destiny's face crumpled. She looked at Noah, then back at Marcus. 30 minutes, she said. "You come back in 30 minutes, or I'm calling the police." "Fair enough," Marcus agreed. He looked at Elijah. "You're in charge while I'm gone. Make sure Miss Destiny has everything she needs. Can you do that?" Elijah stood up straighter. "Yes, sir. I can do that." Marcus bundled Noah up in Elijah's scarf plus his own jacket, creating a cocoon of warmth. The baby's eyes were closed, his breathing still worrying but slightly better in the heat. "I'll be back soon," Marcus said. Then he was out the door, moving fast toward his truck. The urgent care visit took 45 minutes, not 30. Marcus texted Elijah updates the whole time, and Elijah read them aloud to Destiny, who sat on the couch looking like she might bolt at any second. "Doctor is looking at Noah now," Elijah read carefully, sounding out the words. "Giving him breathing treatment. We'll text soon." Destiny wrapped her arms around herself, rocking slightly. "He's in good hands," Elijah said, repeating something he'd clearly heard his father say before. "My daddy knows what to do when people are sick. When I had pneumonia, he stayed up for 3 whole nights watching me breathe." "You had pneumonia?" Destiny asked, her voice hollow. Elijah nodded, unconsciously rubbing his hip. "After the accident. That's when Mommy died. I was in the hospital for a long time. Daddy slept in the chair next to my bed every single night." Destiny looked at this small boy who'd already experienced so much loss. "I'm sorry about your mommy." "Thank you," Elijah said politely. Then, with the straightforward honesty of children, "Do you miss your mommy?" Destiny's breath caught. "Every day. Is she in heaven too?" "I don't know where she is," Destiny admitted. "We don't talk anymore." Elijah considered this. "That's sad." "Yeah," Destiny whispered. "It really is." Marcus's truck pulled up outside at minute 48. Destiny was at the window before the engine cut off. Marcus emerged carrying Noah, who was wrapped in not just the scarf and jacket, but also a hospital blanket. Destiny wrenched open the door before Marcus could knock. "Is he okay? What did they say? Is he—" "He's okay," Marcus said quickly. "Mild respiratory infection, probably from exposure. They gave him a breathing treatment and antibiotics. Here's the prescription. It's already filled. I stopped at the Walgreens on the way back." He handed her the baby and a small white pharmacy bag. Destiny clutched Noah to her chest, tears streaming down her face as she checked him over. The baby's color was better. His breathing, while still congested, sounded stronger. "The doctor wants to see him again in 3 days," Marcus continued, "just to make sure the antibiotics are working. I've got the follow-up appointment card." Destiny couldn't speak. She just held her baby and cried. "Miss Destiny needs to eat real food now," Elijah announced. "Not just a banana. Real food like you make, Daddy." Marcus looked at Destiny, at this young woman who'd been on the streets with a sick infant, who'd had every reason not to trust him but had anyway. He made another decision. "Elijah's right. You need proper food, and we need to talk about what happens next." "I should go," Destiny said automatically. "You've done so much already. I can't ask for more." "You're not asking," Marcus said. "I'm offering. Sit down, eat, then we'll figure this out." 20 minutes later, Destiny sat at Marcus's small kitchen table, eating reheated spaghetti that Marcus had made 2 days ago. Noah was in her arms, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days, the antibiotics already starting to work their magic. Elijah sat across from her, building a tower out of blocks and telling her about his school and his teacher, Miss Rodriguez, and how he was learning to multiply. Marcus leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching this scene unfold in his kitchen. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. "Trevor told me you missed the boot shopping. Everything okay?" Marcus looked at Elijah's worn sneakers, then at Destiny and Noah. "Everything's fine, Ma. Just helping somebody out." "Boots can wait." He put the phone away and pulled out a chair, sitting down at his own table. "Okay," he said. "Let's talk about what's next." Destiny stopped eating, her shoulders tensing. "I'll figure something out. The shelter might have space tomorrow." "That's not what I'm asking," Marcus interrupted gently. "I'm asking what happened. How does a young woman with an infant end up on the streets in December?" Destiny was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm 23. I was a nursing student at UIC. I had a scholarship, a dorm room, a plan." She stopped, swallowing hard. "Then I met Derek at a party. He was older, charming, said all the right things. By the time I realized what he really was, I was pregnant." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet. "When I told him, he said I had to choose, him or the baby. When I said I was keeping Noah, he—" She stopped again, her hand unconsciously going to a faint scar on her cheekbone. "He didn't take it well." "Jesus," Marcus breathed. "I thought I could still make it work. Finish school, raise Noah, do it all. But Noah came early, 32 weeks. He was in the NICU for 6 weeks. I missed too many classes. Lost my scholarship. Lost my dorm room." Her voice cracked. "I called my mother, asked if we could come stay with her just until I got back on my feet. She said no. She said I'd made my choice when I opened my legs for that man." Destiny looked up, meeting Marcus's eyes. "I've been on the streets for 7 weeks. I stayed at the shelter when there was room. I panhandled when I could. I kept Noah as warm as I could. But yesterday, when he started coughing, when his lips started turning blue, I thought—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Elijah had stopped building his tower. He was staring at Destiny with wide, understanding eyes. "Your mommy was mean. To you," he said simply. "Elijah," Marcus started. "No, he's right," Destiny said. "She was mean, and I don't know how to forgive her for that." Marcus sat back in his chair, processing. He thought about his own mother, Sharon, who'd raised him and his brother Trevor alone after their father had walked out. Sharon, who cleaned office buildings at night and worked at the community center during the day. Sharon, who would take in any neighbor kid who needed feeding or any church member who needed help. Sharon, who would never, ever turn away her own grandchild. "Here's what we're going to do," Marcus said, his voice steady. "Tonight, you and Noah stay here. Take my bed. I'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow, we're going to my mama's community center. There's a social worker there, Miss Patricia. She knows all the resources: transitional housing, WIC, child care, assistance, everything. We're going to get you hooked up with what you need. Marcus, I can't keep taking from you. You're not taking. I'm giving. There's a difference. He leaned forward. Look, I don't know you. You don't know me. But I know what it's like to be at the bottom wondering how you're going to keep going for one more day. 3 years ago, after my wife died, if it wasn't for my mama and my brother and my church and my neighbors, I don't know if Elijah and I would have made it. He glanced at his son, who was listening intently. Somebody showed up for us when we needed it. I'm just paying that forward. That's all this is. Destiny's eyes filled with tears again. I don't know how to thank you. Thank me by letting us help. Thank me by accepting that sometimes you need people, and that's okay. Elijah climbed down from his chair and walked over to Destiny. Without a word, he put his small hand on her arm. You can stay here until you're not sad anymore, he said seriously. That's what Grandma Sharon told me when Mommy died. She said I could stay sad as long as I needed, and everybody would wait for me. So, we'll wait for you too. Destiny broke then. Really broke. She pulled Elijah into a hug, careful not to crush Noah between them, and sobbed into this little boy's shoulder while he patted her back and made the same soothing sounds his father made when he was upset. Marcus watched them, his throat tight, and thought about Anaya. Thought about the kind of woman who would stop for someone on the street, who would give her last dollar to someone who needed it more. Thought about the values she'd wanted to pass on to Elijah. I'm trying, baby, he thought, sending the words out to wherever Anaya was. I'm trying to teach him like you wanted. That night, after Marcus had set up Destiny and Noah in his room and made sure they had everything they needed, after he'd settled Elijah into bed and answered approximately 17 questions about whether baby Noah would be okay, Marcus sat alone on his couch in the dark. His phone buzzed. Another text from his mother. Trevor, says you, brought somebody home. True. Marcus smiled slightly and typed back. Young woman and her baby. They need help. Bringing them by the center tomorrow. The response came immediately. That's my son. I raised you right. Bring them for breakfast. 8 a.m. I'll call Patricia. Thanks, Ma. That's what we do, baby. That's what we do. Marcus set his phone down and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet except for the sound of the space heater running in his bedroom, and, faintly, Noah's slightly congested breathing. He thought about the split-second decision to help, about Elijah's insistence that they couldn't just walk by, about the look on Destiny's face when she'd realized they weren't going to hurt her. He thought about all the ways this could go wrong. She could rob him. She could be dangerous. She could bring trouble to his door. But mostly he thought about Elijah, sleeping peacefully down the hall, and about the lesson his son had taught him today at that bus stop. We have to help them, Daddy. They're cold like we're cold, but they don't have a home to go to. Simple. True. The kind of wisdom that only came from children who hadn't yet learned to turn away from pain. Marcus closed his eyes, exhaustion finally catching up with him. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. His mother's questions, the social worker's assessments, figuring out actual long-term solutions. But tonight, 2 more people were safe and warm. Tonight, that was enough. In the bedroom, Destiny lay in a real bed for the first time in 7 weeks, Noah sleeping peacefully in her arms. The antibiotics were working. His breathing was easier. His color was better. She stared up at the ceiling of this stranger's bedroom, at the basketball posters that must be from Marcus's youth, at the photo on the nightstand of a beautiful woman with Elijah's eyes. She thought about the past 7 weeks. The fear, the cold, the constant danger, the way people looked through her on the street, like she wasn't even human anymore, the shelters that separated mothers from babies, the impossibility of it all. And then this man, this stranger, who'd stopped because his 7-year-old son said they should. Destiny pulled Noah closer, breathing in his baby scent. For the first time since that night, Derek had put his hands around her throat, since her mother had closed the door in her face, since she'd found herself on the streets with a newborn. Destiny felt something she'd forgotten existed. Hope. It was fragile. It was terrifying. But it was there. She closed her eyes and, for the first time in months, fell asleep without being afraid of what the morning would bring. Morning came with the smell of coffee and the sound of Elijah's laughter. Destiny woke disoriented, momentarily forgetting where she was. Then she felt the soft mattress beneath her, saw the basketball posters, remembered. Safe. She was safe. Noah stirred in her arms, and for the first time in weeks, his breathing sounded clear. The antibiotics were working. A knock on the door. "Miss Destiny? Daddy made pancakes, the good kind with chocolate chips." Destiny smiled despite herself. "I'll be right out, Elijah." 10 minutes later, she emerged to find Marcus at the stove, flipping pancakes while Elijah set the table with the serious concentration of someone performing an important task. "Morning," Marcus said, glancing over. "How'd you sleep?" "Better than I have in months," Destiny admitted. "Thank you. For everything. Sit. Eat. Then we're heading to see my mama at the community center. She's already called the social worker." Breakfast was warm and filling. Elijah entertained Noah with funny faces while Marcus explained the plan. "Miss Patricia knows all the programs: transitional housing, child care assistance, job training. She helped my cousin get back on her feet last year." "I want to work," Destiny said quickly. "I'm not looking for handouts. I just need a chance." Marcus nodded. "Patricia will help with that, too." The community center was a converted church basement on 47th Street. Marcus's mother, Sharon Hayes, was a force of nature, 62 years old with silver locks and eyes that missed nothing. She took one look at Destiny and Noah and pulled them both into a hug that smelled like cocoa butter and determination. "Baby, you're home now," Sharon said firmly. "We're going to fix this. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one." Over the next 3 hours, Miss Patricia worked her magic. Forms were filled out. Phone calls were made. By lunchtime, Destiny had an application pending for transitional housing, 2-week wait, a WIC appointment scheduled, information about childcare assistance. 3 job leads at local hospitals looking for nursing assistants. "The transitional housing is the best option," Patricia explained, "but there's a waiting list, 2 weeks minimum." Destiny's face fell. 2 more weeks on the streets, now that she knew what warm and safe felt like, seemed impossible. "She can stay with us," Elijah announced from his corner where he'd been coloring with Noah in his lap. "Right, Daddy?" Marcus and Sharon exchanged a look. Sharon nodded slightly. "Elijah's right," Marcus said. 2 weeks isn't that long. You stay with us until the housing comes through." "Marcus, I can't." "You can," Sharon interrupted. "And you will. That baby needs stability. You need rest. My son has a spare bedroom and a heart bigger than his common sense. Let him help." Destiny looked between them, overwhelmed. "Why are you all doing this?" Sharon sat down next to her, taking her hand. "Baby, you know what I see when I look at you? I see my son 30 years ago when his daddy left. I see myself working 3 jobs to keep the lights on. I see every single mother in this neighborhood who's fighting just to survive." She squeezed Destiny's hand. "We help because we've been helped. That's how community works. You take the hand that's offered, and someday when you're back on your feet, you reach back and pull somebody else up. That's the only way any of us make it." 2 weeks turned into 3, then 4. The transitional housing kept getting delayed, bureaucracy and paperwork and a system that moved at the speed of exhaustion. But something was shifting in Marcus's small house. Destiny started cooking, insisted on it. Real meals, baked chicken, greens, cornbread. "I can't just take," she'd said. "Let me contribute." She helped Elijah with homework every afternoon, discovered he was struggling with reading, created flashcards and games that made learning fun. "Miss Destiny is the best teacher," Elijah announced one night. "She doesn't get mad when I mess up." Marcus noticed other things too. The way Destiny hummed while cooking, how she'd started sketching again, little drawings on scrap paper of Noah, of Elijah, of the view from the kitchen window. The way she laughed, really laughed when Elijah told his terrible knock-knock jokes. She was coming back to life. And Marcus was feeling things he hadn't felt since Anaya died. The warmth that spread through his chest when he came home to voices in the kitchen. The way his heart picked up when Destiny smiled. The dangerous thought that maybe, just maybe, his house didn't have to feel empty anymore. It was week 5 when everything changed. Marcus came home from his warehouse shift to find Destiny on the couch, trembling, her phone clutched in her hand. "He found me," she whispered. "Derek. He somehow found me." Marcus's blood went cold. "What happened?" "He called. I don't know how he got this number. I don't even know how he knew I was in Chicago. He said—" Her voice broke. "He said he's coming for Noah, that he's going to take him away, that I'm an unfit mother, and he'll prove it." Elijah appeared in the doorway holding Noah. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Marcus took Noah from his son, then pulled out his phone. "Elijah, take Noah to your room and read him that book about the hungry caterpillar, okay?" "But, Daddy—" "Now, son." Once Elijah was gone, Marcus sat next to Destiny. "Tell me everything." The story came out in broken pieces. Derek was from a wealthy family. His father owned a chain of car dealerships. When Destiny had refused to terminate the pregnancy, Derek had threatened her. When she'd kept Noah anyway, he'd beaten her badly enough to leave scars. She'd run, changed her number, disappeared. "But he found me," Destiny said, her whole body shaking. "And he has money, Marcus. He has lawyers. I have nothing. If he takes me to court—" "He won't win," Marcus said firmly. "How do you know that?" "Because you're not alone anymore." Marcus pulled out his phone and called his mother. "Ma, I need Trevor's lawyer friend, the family law one. Yeah, it's an emergency." 24 hours later, they sat in the office of Jennifer Chen, a family law attorney who owed Trevor a favor from a case 3 years back. Jennifer listened to Destiny's story, taking notes. When Destiny finished, Jennifer set down her pen. "Here's the reality. Derek has money and resources, but he also has a documented history of domestic violence. You have hospital records from that beating, right?" Destiny nodded. "And he abandoned his child for 6 months. Never paid child support. Never established paternity. That works heavily in your favor." Jennifer looked at Marcus. "The fact that Destiny now has stable housing and support will help too. But the housing isn't permanent," Destiny said. "I'm still on a waiting list." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at Marcus. "How long has she been living with you?" 5 weeks. "And you're willing to testify that she's been a responsible mother? That Noah is thriving in this environment?" "Absolutely." Jennifer nodded slowly. "Then here's what we do. We file for full custody immediately. We document everything. Noah's medical care, Destiny's stability, the support system she's built, and we make it very clear that Derek abandoned his child and has no legal right to suddenly appear and demand custody." "Will it work?" Destiny asked, her voice small. "With the right documentation and support? Yes, I believe it will." The custody hearing was set for 3 weeks later. In that time, Marcus's house became mission control. Sharon arrived with casseroles and determination. Trevor showed up with his toolkit and fixed every broken thing in the house. "Making sure this place looks good for the home visit," he explained. The church community rallied. Women who'd known Marcus and Anaya showed up with baby clothes and diapers and fierce protective energy. "That man thinks he can just show up and take a baby," Sister Marlene declared. Not in my Chicago. Elijah, sensing the tension, appointed himself Noah's official protector. Don't worry, baby Noah, he'd whisper. We're not going to let the bad man get you. And through it all, Marcus watched Destiny transform. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was fighting, planning, preparing. Late one night, after everyone had left and Elijah and Noah were asleep, Destiny found Marcus on the porch. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She shook her head, sitting next to him. "I keep thinking about what happens after the hearing. Even if we win, the transitional housing is temporary. Eventually, I'll have to leave and—" Her voice caught. "I don't know how to thank you for what you've done." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "What if you didn't leave?" Destiny looked at him, confused. "I've been thinking," Marcus continued, his heart pounding. "This house has 3 bedrooms. One is mine, one is Elijah's. The third is just storage right now, but it could be yours and Noah's, permanently." "Marcus!" "I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. "I'm not expecting. This isn't about that. It's about the fact that in 5 weeks, you've made this house feel like a home again. Elijah is thriving because of you. And I—" He stopped, choosing his words carefully. "I don't want you to go." Destiny's eyes filled with tears. "You barely know me. I know you're a good mother. I know you're strong. I know Elijah loves you, and Noah is safe with you, and you make the best cornbread I've ever had." He smiled slightly. "I know that's enough." "What are you really asking, Marcus?" He met her eyes. "I'm asking if you want to stay. Not as a charity case, as family. You help with Elijah, I help with Noah. We figure out life together. No strings, just together." Destiny was silent for so long Marcus thought he'd made a terrible mistake. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Okay. Okay? Okay, I'll stay." The custody hearing arrived on a cold January morning. Derek showed up in a $1,000 suit with 2 lawyers. Destiny walked in wearing borrowed clothes with Marcus on one side and Jennifer Chen on the other. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Derek's lawyers painted Destiny as unstable, homeless, unfit. They questioned her judgment, her circumstances, her ability to provide. Then Jennifer Chen stood up. She presented hospital records documenting Derek's violence. She called Marcus to testify about Destiny's care for Noah, her dedication as a mother. She called Sharon, who spoke about the support system surrounding this young woman. She called Ms. Patricia, who detailed every program Destiny had enrolled in, every appointment she'd kept, every step she'd taken toward stability. Finally, she called Elijah. The 7-year-old walked to the stand in his Sunday best, his hand raised for the oath. "Elijah," Jennifer said gently, "you live with Miss Destiny and baby Noah, right?" "Yes, ma'am." "What's Miss Destiny like?" Elijah thought about this seriously. "She's really nice. She helps me with my homework. She makes baby Noah laugh. She doesn't yell when I spill things." He paused. "She's sad sometimes because she misses her mommy. But she's a good mommy to Noah. The best kind." "How do you know she's a good mommy?" "Because she loves him even when it's hard. That's what my daddy says real love is. Loving somebody even when it's hard." There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The judge reviewed the evidence. She looked at Derek, then at Destiny. "Mr. Watson, you abandoned your child for 6 months. You provided no support. You established no relationship. You have a documented history of violence against this child's mother." The judge's voice was ice. "Now you appear, claiming parental rights?" Derek's lawyer started to speak, but the judge held up her hand. "Full custody is awarded to the mother, Destiny Watson. Mr. Watson, you may petition for supervised visitation after completing a batterer's intervention program and anger management. This hearing is adjourned." Destiny collapsed into Marcus's arms, sobbing. They'd won. 6 months later, the house on Ashland Avenue had changed. The third bedroom was now painted yellow with clouds on the ceiling. Noah's room. Elijah had helped paint every single cloud. Destiny had finished her nursing assistant certification and was working part-time at Mercy Hospital. She'd reconnected with her mother, slowly, carefully, building something new from the broken pieces. Marcus had been promoted to shift supervisor at the warehouse. Better pay, better hours, more time at home. And the four of them, Marcus, Elijah, Destiny, and Noah, had become something neither Marcus nor Destiny had been looking for, but both desperately needed. A family. It was Sunday morning, and they were making pancakes. Elijah was teaching Noah to clap. Destiny was laughing at something Marcus had said. The kitchen smelled like butter and coffee and home. "Daddy," Elijah said suddenly, "can I ask you something?" "Anything, little man." "That day at the bus stop, when I said we had to help Miss Destiny, were you scared?" Marcus thought about this, flipping a pancake. "Yeah, I was scared. Scared of getting involved. Scared of bringing strangers home. Scared of a lot of things. But you did it anyway. Because you reminded me of something important. You reminded me that being scared isn't a good reason not to help. Your mama taught us that." Elijah nodded seriously. Then he grinned. "I think Mommy would like our family now." Marcus's throat tightened. He looked at Destiny, who was watching them with Noah in her arms. "Yeah, little man," Marcus said softly. "I think she would like our family a lot." That night, after the boys were asleep, Marcus and Destiny sat on the porch like they did most evenings now. "You know what tomorrow is?" Destiny asked. "What?" 7 months since that bus stop." Marcus smiled. 7 months since my son decided we couldn't just walk by. 7 months since you changed my life." "We changed each other's lives," Marcus corrected gently. He took her hand, something they'd started doing weeks ago, this small gesture of connection and possibility. "Marcus?" Destiny said softly. "Yeah?" "Thank you for stopping." He squeezed her hand. "Thank you for staying." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out over Chicago. Two people who'd been broken finding wholeness together. Inside, Elijah slept peacefully, dreaming of chocolate chip pancakes and baby laughs and the family his small act of kindness had created. And in the room painted with clouds, baby Noah slept safe and warm, surrounded by love that had started with a simple question from a 7-year-old boy. "Daddy, is she okay?" Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes one question, one moment, one choice to stop instead of walk by, changes everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.